Hello, my name is Tiainen and welcome to this short introduction video of short-time solution-focused therapy. I'm very happy to work in cooperation with Bariatric Services as they have a holistic approach to humanity and a holistic approach to helping each individual to achieve their goals. I work part-time as a solution-focused therapist. My daytime job is now as a communication specialist at the Emergency Response Center agency. I used to work as an operator at the Emergency Response Center taking emergency calls, and I'm also a contract firefighter, so I'm trained and used to meet people in times of crisis. Besides that, I also love working with therapy and with the therapeutic approach that I've found in solution-focused therapy, because I like to walk a bit longer path. The work that I do at the fire station, at the fire brigade, or at the emergency response center is very short term, so that's why I love doing what I do here today with you guys. I'm also a trustee and an occupational safety health representative at the emergency response center agency. So I love to look at different aspects of health and to support health in different ways. I'm still a student at Turku University and try to approach a degree within a few years, let's say. But let's take a look at solution-focused short-time therapy. That's many words, and I know that therapy and this whole field of therapy can feel somewhat confusing. So many names, there are so many different approaches. What about short-time therapy? What about solution-focused short-time therapy? Well, shortly and basically, it's an evidence-based therapeutic approach. The intervention periods are shorter than in traditional therapy. If, for example, you would go to traditional psychotherapy, it's usually up to 3 years. A psychoanalytic approach could be up to 5 years. So when we do short-time therapy, it's usually around, let's say, up to 15 times, up to 15 meetings. I think in general, most of my clients have seen me for 7 times. That's the average length of a therapeutic thing that we do. It's very goal oriented, so we always have this goal in our mind, what we are here for, what we are working for. It's also future oriented, so if you have this basic image of going through or going to therapy, that it's all about looking at the past, it's all about maybe looking at the childhood and explaining your life today as a result of what happened once back there. Solution-focused short-time therapy is a bit different because, of course, it's very natural and it's okay and it's allowed to look at the childhood. It's very understandable that we explain our life today as a result of what happened back then. But there is also much more to explain why and how you are the person that you are today. There are strengths, there are abilities, there are capabilities, there are strategies that you have used, and we want to look at those. And to be able to look at those, we kind of we go to the future and to the place that we wish that we once will be in, and look back at today, and we explain our life from a future point, because in that way we are free from the explanation that is tied to our past. So, well, it could look like this. Let's say that a year from now, you would meet me in, for example, a street just nearby your home, or while doing groceries, or when going to work. And you recognize me. That's the guy who was doing the video blog or the video thing a year back. And then you stop me and you tell me that, hi, Patrick, I was listening to you a year back, and the things that I was struggling with back then are no longer a part of my life. And I can see that you are shining, you are doing well, you are clearly enjoying the life that you are living. and you're radiant with joy and energy, and then I ask you, okay, so what is different now? Since you said that the problems that existed a year ago while listening to your video are no longer present in my life. So my question is, okay, so what is different? What does your life look like now when those challenges are no longer present? And then a follow-up question, since I'm a therapist, I'm of course interested in hearing what helped you achieve those goals. What strategies did you use? What strengths and abilities in your life did you use to get to the future and the life that you are, in fact, now living? And in that way, we get a description of the change that you are looking forward to. And looking from the future to today, we are not bound to the present, and we are not bound by our past, but we are free to look to today from the future. It's also resource oriented. I think that one of the most important parts of doing therapy is getting to know the resources, getting to know the strengths of each individual. Many clients come to me and they maybe look for a strong therapist or somebody who would take charge of their lives and just do the work. But in fact, you are the expert of your own life because you have lived your life. I haven't. But you are the expert of your own life. And my job is to come into cooperation with your expertise. My job is to come into cooperation with your strengths, your personal abilities, and the strategies that you have used so far, and to help you see what works best for you already, and to kind of help you see what explains that you are doing so well. The fact that you are doing here today tells me that you have wanted to do and you have decided to do something for yourself. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about you as a person? What strengths, what abilities, what does that tell me about you? And coming into cooperation with your personal resources helps us to build solutions that last. Solution-focused short therapy encompasses a lot of practices and principles from positive psychology. I think it's interesting that positive psychology, which studies health, has not been around for more than maybe 30, 40 years now. We have studied sickness for hundreds of years, but we haven't studied health for more than just a few decades. That tells us a lot about what is yet to be discovered. Of course, there are some main characters behind solution-focused therapy. Some of them are Steve DeShazer and Inso Kim Berg. So if you want to look deeper into the roots of solution-focused therapy, those are some of the names that I would advise you to look into. Solution-focused therapy is positive emotion evoking. It's future-oriented, as we described earlier on. It awakens, it achieves, and it helps to sustain change in behavior. It's one thing to achieve change, but it's another thing to own it and to embrace the change so that it's under your ownership. And I think that, for example, if we talk about weight loss surgery, for example, emotional eating might have been a way to cope with something different, something difficult in our lives. And it's important to not only achieve change, but to sustain the change so that we don't start to, for example, medicate ourselves with alcohol or some other form of abuse, but that we can maintain the change that we have achieved with the help of different kind of methods, let's say a surgery. And this is why therapy can be helpful, because we get to know and understand the roots behind the behavior that caused the problem. At the heart of this therapeutic approach is, however, not the problem in itself, but at the core is a detailed description of what your life would be like when this problem that you have described or that you have defined no longer exists. Or the situation has improved to a sufficient level. And if you haven't done this by now, I want you to take paper and a pen and write down the problem that you want to work with today. As you go through this video, there might be some tools to use. Write down and name that problem, name the challenge that you are working on right now. And then, if you already have a detailed description of where you want to go, do that as well. Remember that you can pause and play whenever you want. If you want to do that now, do it. Because the detailed description, the more detailed it is, the more motivation evoking that description will be, and that will be very helpful for your process. My role is to help you build those sustainable solutions. I can't give them and I can't build them without you. But in cooperation, I'm sure that we can build solutions that fit you. There are some basic rules or some basic thoughts for solution-focused therapy, and one of them is that if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. If it works, do more of it, and if it doesn't, do something different. And I love to return to this very simple thought because sometimes when we talk about the mind, we become aware of our thoughts. It might seem very confusing, it might seem difficult, it might seem challenging, it might seem as there are so many different views and aspects to why we feel or behave in a certain way. And I think it's important to keep it simple because over-analyzing is also a coping mechanism. And that's why if we note that we start to overanalyze, I try to bring myself back to the core by using this phrase that if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. If it works, do more of it, and if it doesn't, do something else. It's a simple rule in solution-focused therapy. Well, I know that you might be interested in hearing why therapy could be beneficial in conjunction with weight loss surgery. As I said, bariatric services are interested in a holistic approach in meeting the whole human, and I think we can't stress that enough because a person is a whole, and a major life change can successfully be supported by means of therapy. Recent studies show all the more that we are a whole, that our mind and our body cooperate in ways that we don't fully yet even understand. And keeping them both in line as we go through a major life change can help us support that life change that we want to achieve. I think that feeling capable, self-compassion, and self-knowledge are three very important keys to sustaining change that can be achieved through therapy. And even just in general, to sustain mental health and to strengthen our well-being. And that in turn supports the comprehensive, the overall well-being. Feeling capable, I like to think of a child that learns to ride a bike without the help of an adult for the first time. You know, that very first moment when the child has been biking but with the help of an adult, and for the first time the adult lets go and the child is able to balance and to bike on itself. That's feeling of being capable, being able to do things. I just learned this, and there's a perfect balance between the skills and the demands, and it brings forth that feeling of I did it. And life is full of those kind of experiences if we just note them, and if we allow ourselves to see how we can find them in our relationships, we can find them in our workplace, we can find them exercising, we can find them in achieving life goals, which we will be talking about today, and strengthening that feeling, and maybe just helping ourselves see those moments and those experiences in life can be life-changing in itself. Self-compassion, on the other hand, we know what compassion is. We feel compassion for another person. It's a friendly approach where we perhaps can feel something of what that other person is feeling in a certain situation. Self-compassion is feeling for and with ourselves. That we are aware of what we feel, in not in a judgmental way, but in a friendly way. and we befriend the feelings that we feel in a certain situation. There are many ways of strengthening self-compassion through means of therapy. And well, depending on what you're like, there are many things that we can do. I can help you do a self-compassion walk, taking a walk out in the nature, and your assignment could be to look for as many colors as you can, as many sensations, maybe the sun radiating on your face, the wind feeling the rain on your face, things that you can hear the birds singing in the trees, hear the wind humming in the trees, or maybe you can smell the autumn, the spring, whenever you're watching this. Finding those different sensations out there in the forest, doing a self-compassion walk can be a very healing experience. Another thing that we can do, if you are fond of writing, and even if you're not, you can write a letter of self-compassion to yourself. Imagine a rainy day in your life when you're feeling blue. What would you tell yourself that would make you feel that I'm not alone in what I'm going through right now? What would you need to hear when you are feeling those low days, feeling those blues? How would you meet yourself? What words are important in that very situation? Writing a letter of self-compassion to yourself can be a very powerful thing to do as well. These kind of things are done in therapy. Self-knowledge, becoming aware of what works for you, and how you can help yourself, and how you already have helped yourself is very important. In therapy, you can also reflect on what you have, for example, tried to control or protect with the help of eating. And you can reflect on what that wants to tell you. Because it must have been an effort to protect something very important. Going through all that pain, going through all those challenging situations, there must be something very important that you have tried to protect, that you were ready to go through all of that. And finding what that was that you were trying to protect, or that you were in fact protecting, is very important, and that's something to work on in therapy. So what do we do? Is it just talking? Is it writing letters? Well, it's all of that, and it's more. I think that what's most important is that if you come to meet me, even just for a first consultation to see if I can help you, is that we define the initial situation. I want to know, where are you now? Because I can't help you get somewhere if I don't know where you are now. And that's true for ourselves as well. If we want self-help, we need to define the current situation in order to find the right methods to help us move on. So we define the initial situation, and what kind of thoughts, what kind of feelings, and what kind of behavior is related to this initial situation. And the order that I said is important: thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Because many will come to my to meet me, and they want help with their behavior. I'm going to change my behavior, okay? But we can jump to behavior, because behavior is a following of or is a result of what we feel, and our feelings are a result of what we thought. This is the basic ABCs of cognitive therapy. I'm not a cognitive therapist, I'm a solution-focused therapist, but I know this much about cognitive therapy, that there are feelings are a result of our thoughts, and feelings result in behavior. So if we want to change the behavior, the first thing that we want to know is, what did you feel in that situation? For example, when you started overeating, or when you started controlling something, what was that unpleasant feeling? Okay, so it was anxiety, or it was fear. Okay, so what did you think just before that feeling started taking over? What thoughts came into your mind? If you can name maybe 2-3 thoughts, maybe even one thought, we can work on that. Because what does that thought tell you about the situation that you were in? Normalizing is another very important thing that we do, because as I said, those thoughts they lead to feelings, and those feelings will lead to behavior, and that's normal. Every normal working brain will do the same thing, because I think that have seen that some patients that come to meet me, they are afraid that they're crazy because they feel like they're not able to control, for example, their eating. You're not crazy. Your mind works just the way it should, because those thoughts evoke feelings which lead to behavior. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with your brain, and I think that's sometimes important to hear, because if you have, for example, you're working with overeating, and at the same time you feel like you're going crazy, that's not going to be helpful for your process. So it will be helpful to hear that your brain works just the way it's planned to work. What else do we do? What I'm most interested in, and what's even most important for your process, is that detailed description that I mentioned earlier on. How will things be when this problem no longer exists, or it is at a tolerable level? What is different, and how would other people notice it? This is an important question, because how will your fiancé notice that something is different? What about your boss? What about your colleagues? What about your friends? What about your parents? What's the first thing that they will notice that is different about you when this challenge that you're dealing with is no longer present in your life? I know that some people tell me that, well, I don't have that kind of people in my life. They won't notice anything. But then there's a dog at home, and I know that dogs notice everything, and I love this part because I love dogs. So you can also ask yourself, what will my dog realize? So what will my dog note that is different about me when this behavior is no longer present in my life, or this thing is no longer a challenge for me? What is different in my behavior? What is different about how I feel about myself or about life? Noting what is different is always important in therapy, because many times we say that it's always like this. Usually it's not, and we need to find those exceptions. And noting exceptions, finding exceptions. Some I've even advised some of my patients to just buy a notebook just to write down exceptions. Every time they notice that this was different than it was last time it happened, write down what was different, what made it different. Did you feel different? Did you do something different? Were there some other people present than last time? What was different about the situation? And how did you realize? How did you note that it was different? Very important questions. Defining and clarifying the desired future is important in order to know what to work on. And it's also strongly connected to motivation. I love to investigate resources and then drawing up an action to plan. Goal setting is another thing that we will work on even today in just a few minutes. And homework. We do a lot of homework because I don't want anyone to grow dependent upon me. I want you to be dependent on yourself and your present self, and we do that by using homework. Let's do a first practical application. We call this scaling. If you didn't have a piece of paper already, you can go down and get it now, and a pencil, and let's find out the problem that you want to work on today. This can be a longer process, or it can be just what you want to work on today. But you need a defined problem or a defined challenge. Write that down. And if it's too long to write down with just a few words, you can give it a name. It can be any name, just a name of a figure, or a name even of a character, even of a person, if that helps. Write down the challenge that you want to work on. Just 1, 2, 3 words, or a short sentence at the most. And after you have defined this problem and this challenge, I want you to define a general goal. That situation where this is no longer a problem in your life, a general goal, write that down as well. Remember that you can pause and play whenever you need to take some time for yourself. So you define the problem, and you define a general goal. After that, you can draw a line going from 0 to 10. You can make it as long as you want, as big as you want, but at least write down where 0 is and where 10 is. You can even put in all the numbers in between if you want, if that's helpful for you, but at least 0 and 10. And now I want you to define where you are. If 0 is the situation at its worst, where this challenge or this problem is really challenging your everyday life. And number 10 is that situation where this situation or this challenge is no longer present in any way, and you are living that ideal life where you have achieved that goal, that general goal that you just defined. Where are you today? I want you to make a small mark. Is it maybe a 4 or a 5? And remember, it's not a 0, because you came here today. You are watching this video, so you have done something to achieve your goal already. So it cannot be a 0. I don't accept that. But it can be anything after that. But make a small mark and define where are you today. Define the current situation in relation to the general goal that you described earlier on. And now, underneath this line that you drew, define the strategies that you have used, or the means by which this current situation has been achieved. So what have you done so far? Because it's not a 0. If it is a 4 or a 5, that's a lot. And the question I want you to ask yourself, if it's a 4, what defines or what separates a 4 from a 3? If it's a 2, okay, 2 is good. What separates 2 from 1? What have you done to achieve 2? Because it's not 1. If it's 1, it's not 0. What did you do that it's not a 0 but a 1 today? Define the means by which you have achieved your present situation. This is extremely important because I want to know the strategies, and it's also important for yourself to make visible the things that you have already done and the strengths and the abilities that you have already used in order to be here today. And after that, I want you to define a sufficient target. If it feels like, 10 is a bit distant for me, but I would be happy with an 8 or a 9, then draw a 9 and maybe a circle around it, because that's what you would be happy and content with. This is an important part, because it's important to set up a goal that we can be working towards, a sufficient target level. Now, once you have done that, the next thing that we are about to do is defining an immediate goal. But before you even think about the immediate goal, I want to explain what I mean by an immediate goal. In therapy, I talk a lot about baby steps, and to explain this, I usually say that if your sufficient target level is doing a marathon, then your immediate goal is not running. Your immediate goal will not be taking a walk, but your immediate goal will be doing something very nice and something that you can do immediately or by tomorrow. For example, going shopping, looking at new sneakers, new running shoes, or just browsing on the internet for the right shoes that you would like to run in. Something just that will help you get an idea of what it would be like. That's a baby step. That's how small it is. And in therapy, it's important that we divide our goals into baby steps, because those are achievable every single day. And by dividing our goals into baby steps, we provide ourselves those experiences of achievement and self-efficacy. And that's important. So now, thinking about baby steps, what could be your immediate goal? Something that is achievable by today or by perhaps next week. Where would you want to be if you are at a 4 or a 5 today? Where would you like to be next week this time? And after you have defined that immediate goal, define and write down the means by which you will get there. what will you do that is different from what you have already done and what you are already doing? What are the following steps that you will be doing to achieve maybe a 6 or a 7 or whatever you have defined as the goal where you want to be next week? Accurate planning predicts success, and that's why we are doing scaling, and we are using that a lot. You can do this every single week just to see, to make that progress seen, and to do a checkup of where you are. The importance of executive intentions, we call them executive intentions, has been studied a lot during the last 20 years because scientists have been interested in finding out what predicts success, because a lot of people make up plans to do stuff, but just a part of them actually succeed in doing so. And what explains this difference? And the explanation is executive intentions. The intention is always more likely to come true if it's planned how, where, and when to carry out that intention. So an intention plan or an action plan. When, how, and where will you do what you have planned to do? That will explain future success. And the long-term maintenance of operations and behavioral change is predicted by also planning to prevent breakdowns or preparation for adversity. We do this in therapy. We make up a plan. Let's say that okay, your goal is to achieve an 8. What kind of challenges, what kind of adversity might you meet as you proceed from your 5 towards your 8? What kind of situations might be challenging? Okay, if you meet one of these challenges and you feel a setback or you experience a setback, how will you prevent yourself from stopping? How will you keep yourself moving when you experience a setback? Preparing ourselves for challenging times is something that is done in solution-focused therapy. Planning, preparation for adversity, and feeling capable. When we combine these three, we will be very prepared for the journey that is ahead of us. We have talked about self-efficacy and a sense of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the sense of I'm capable of doing this. And this can be provoked and this can be strengthened by means of therapy. And one of them is collecting information about previous performances. This we do this homework quite many times in therapy. For example, if we would meet the first time and you would give me a description of your challenges and the detailed description of where you want to go, and I would help you describe or find the right words, then for the next time I would like you to write down 20 achievements or 20 performances where you have done, where you have achieved a personal goal. And this can be just like everyday performances, everyday achievements in, for example, your relationship, in your workplace, studies, whatever it can be. I just want you to show yourself that you have been able to achieve important things earlier on in life. Making that visible by, for example, 20 different examples is already evoking that sense of self-efficacy, because our brain is programmed to make notes and see that, okay, that's where I did well, that's where I succeeded, that's where I did achieve that goal which I had set up. Another way to strengthen self-efficacy is what we call substitute experiences. If you have a friend with perhaps almost the same background as you, who have had the same challenges and achieved that change which you are looking for, finding such a person, that's why peer experiences are so important, because if we can find a person that is like us in many ways, and they have achieved the same goal that we want to achieve, that can help us believe in the process. Experience of a person perceived as an equal can be very important for that sense of self-efficacy. A third one is verbal experience. It's important that we have people in our lives who tell us that they believe in us, that they believe in our ability and capability to achieve the goals that we have set up for us. It's important that we perceive the source of information as reliable. If not, then those words will be empty for us. But if the source is knowledgeable and reliable, that verbal influence is strong and important. Physical, emotional reactions are also strong. Try to imagine. Okay, we can do this exercise now. Describe a recent success for yourself or for me. You can press pause in between these questions and describe and answer my questions, or then you can take a piece of paper and write down. Describe a recent success when you succeeded in something that you had set up. How did you do it? How did you accomplish it? What kind of strategies did you use? What kind of abilities, your personal abilities, did you use? What kind of skills? What kind of talents? How did you feel when you achieved that goal? And where did you feel it? In your head, in your mind, in your heart, in your belly? Well, it is just a wholesome experience? Can you relive that physical sensation now? And what does this success say about you as a person? And about those talents, about those strategies, about those skills, where else have you used these abilities? A wonderful experience, and that's something that I think we should do every day. We did something like this, a live video back in June, and there were some questions sent to me in advance, and I want to re-answer some of them now, because I have seen that the patients or the clients coming to me through bariatric services usually have some basic questions that I answer, well, not every time, but very often. And one of them is, and maybe my favorite one, is how to get rid of snacking. That habit of eating small snacks every once in a while, and usually evening time. And first of all, I think it's so important to take a closer look at the biological, physiological factors. How are you eating? Are you eating often enough? What about the sizes of the portions that you are eating? What are you eating? Are you getting all the nutrition that you need? That's the first thing that needs to be ruled out, or that needs to be looked into. And I know that there are experts in this area at bariatric services, so this is the first thing to look at. But if you have gone through that and there is still a behavior that you're kind of stuck with, that you're still stuck to the snacking, then I think I can help you. And I think that the first thing that we need to look into is the situations. When does the snacking appear? When does the desire appear? What kind of situations, and what is the feeling? What do you feel when you notice that, okay, now I have the urge to get a snack? What do you feel? Are you sure that it's hunger, or could it be anxiety? Could it be fear? Could it be insecurity? What provoked that feeling? Okay, so if you can define the feeling, wonderful. What was the first thought, or what was the last thought that you remember yourself thinking before that feeling evoked? What thoughts was in your mind? What kind of thoughts were in your mind, or what was present in your mind before you had that feeling that you recognized? What was the situation like? And note what increases and what decreases that urge to have a snack or to snack around. Have you already, developed some strategies to decrease? Okay, tell me more about that. What increases? That's also. And it's just as important to find out what increases that urge to snack. What do you notice? Are there some exceptions? Because I love this fact that almost all clients always tell me if they have a challenge, it's always the same. I've had this for long. There's, it's just the same from Monday to Sunday. It's never the same. There are always exceptions. And if you tell me, okay, well, it was a bit different on Tuesday. Wonderful. Tell me everything you can about Tuesday. What was different? What was different about the situation situation? Did somebody else do something different? Did you do something different? Did you think something different? Did you feel something different? Did somebody say something different? Because I want to know everything about what was different, because that difference is a pointer towards the solution. So find the exceptions. Also, what do you think about snacking? What does it mean to you? What kind of meanings have you ascribed to snacking? Because as you remember, as I told you, our emotions are always logical. They are consequences of thoughts. That's the ABC model. So what do you think about snacking? What does it mean to you? And also, if we think about, this is the same for alcohol abuse, this is the same for emotional eating and snacking. This small cup here now represents the thought of snacking. And it's like it's whispering something into our ear. It's whispering, I don't know, it's a promise of something being easier maybe. If that promise that this snacking is now promising was fulfilled, where would it lead? If that promise that it's whispering was fulfilled to its whole, to its full, what would it lead to? In other words, what are those things that snacking is whispering to you? What are those promises? And even more, what is the need behind that promise? How can you offer that to yourself in a more constructive way? But I'm very interested in if that promise that was whispered to you was fulfilled to its whole, to its full, what would your life look like? And what would that lead to in its turn? Because then we already have a detailed description of the life that you want to live, that we can work on in a more constructive way. Another question that is very frequently asked is how to find a way out of emotional eating. And I think the first and the most important thing is to face yourself with compassion. Because what an important function emotional eating must have had since you have walked in it for all of these years. It has certainly been handy dealing with difficult emotional situations or difficult feelings, overwhelming emotions. How have you coped with those feelings? What other means have you used? What emotion do you eat due to? What's the message of that feeling? I think that sometimes we are so keen to just let go of those difficult patterns of behavior that we forget to thank that behavior for all the help that we have received. And we might not even be able to or ready to let go before we say thank you. That's why sometimes in therapy we write a thank you letter. It's a way of saying goodbye and making visible the importance that that challenge has had in our lives, because it has been a way to cope with life when life was at its most difficult. So you can write a thank you letter or a goodbye letter to your emotional eating. Thank you for helping me cope with my difficult feelings. Thank you for helping me cope with fear or anxiety. And once we have said thank you, and I know this can be very difficult. This can be, you can feel fear even just hearing about this experience or this exercise, and that's why it's important that we learn ways to build on our sense of security and safety before doing this. And this can be done in therapy. And we can even do this exercise together. But as you write this letter and you kind of say, thank you for all that you have done. There was a time in my life when I didn't know any better, and I had no other means of coping with my difficult feelings and that difficult situation. But then you kind of return to your present life. But now, and you can maybe look at the room where you are, you can touch the table or the chair where you are, and you kind of return to this present situation. But now The year is 2023. I'm in my home, or I'm in my office, and I realize that I no longer need this method of coping with difficult feelings, because I have learned new skills, I have learned new methods, and I have learned new ways of meeting my own personal needs. So now I'm letting go. I have seen that this was important at some point in life, and I didn't know of any better way of soothing myself. But now, as I have learned new skills, I'm letting go. And I think this is a beautiful way to work with difficult feelings, difficult emotions, and it might be new to you that you could say thank you to something so difficult, that there is power in that paradox. Today we have looked at some of the basic things and the basic questions of solution-focused short therapy. If you are interested and if you want to look closer into what therapy could be and if it could be helpful for you, you can contact the office at Bariatric Services. They will help you get in contact with me. And what we sometimes do with clients is that we just book one appointment and we go through your situation. I can assess your situation and I will tell you honestly if I can help you. And if I feel like, okay, short-time therapy might not be important, enough, it could be important but not sufficient, I can help you find the right therapist. If you, for example, would need a longer period of psychotherapy. But the important thing, I will be with you until you find that precise help that you need. But what I've seen is that in most cases, solution-focused short therapy has been enough, it has been sufficient, and it has been effective, usually around, for example, 7 times, even 5 times, 5 appointments. But we can book one appointment at a time. Even if you just book one, we can meet, we can assess your situation, and we can see what kind of tools would be helpful. And I urge you and I challenge you to do that. Take a look into what therapy could provide as part of your journey towards the life that you want to live. I wish you all the best. I'm Patrick, and today I shared some thoughts and some insights on solution-focused short therapy. Thank you for listening.